Two quick questions. First of all, on the sanctions that were announced yesterday, one of the requirements for Russia to avoid further sanctions is to allow inspections to make sure that they're not using chemical weapons. Does the State Department have any reason to think that Russia is going to allow that? And is the U.S. expecting Russia to allow that?
I mean, that's asking us to look into the future, and we don't know what the future holds. I think that's a hypothetical question, so I don't have an answer.
But the U.S. is fully expecting to have some kind of inspections take place then, according to this law?
I don't have anything for you on that today, and I'm not going to get ahead of anything that happens in the near future.
Okay, well, that's what the law says. But my other question is is the U.S. then currently preparing for this next round of sanctions?
As you well know, we don't forecast sanctions. We have complied with the law in announcing those sanctions just yesterday, and we will comply with the law going forward, of course, as we always would. Okay? Yeah, sure. Hi, Gardner.
So you, in the case of Iran, you have this 12-point plan of what behavior you want the government to implement in order to lift sanctions. You have a whole series of sanctions that are now revolving around Russia, having to do with Katsa, Magnitsky, now weapons. Can you give us some global sense of what these sanctions are trying to achieve from an American foreign policy perspective? What are you looking for from Russia? Why do we have sanctions on them? What's your goal? And when's the periodicity of these things?
Sure. I think I would start by answering that question with this, that we approach every country very differently. Every country that we have a relationship, or even countries that we don't have relationships with, are viewed through a separate lens. So what may be appropriate for one country is maybe not necessarily appropriate for another country. The United States government has determined that sanctions can be a very effective tool in trying to bring various governments to the table to negotiate with us or try to encourage countries to comply or to return to a better set of behaviors. So this is one tool that we have in a very big toolkit. The State Department works closely with Treasury and OFAC and other entities to implement, study, and enforce sanctions, and that is part of what you've seen yesterday. Let's remember that one of the things that has brought North Korea to the table is sanctions, and we have found sanctions to be very effective in many cases around the world. So the U.S. government looks at that as an overall tool.
Right, so North Korea is a great example. Sanctions, as a result, you want to get rid of their nuclear program. Again, Iran, you've got a list of 12 things. Venezuela, you've got sort of a clear list. I'm trying to understand what your policy is with Russia. You've got a variety, a myriad now of sanctions. What's your goal?
Well, I think the president has addressed this, and so has Secretary Pompeo. We'd like to have a better relationship with the Russian government, recognizing that we have a lot of areas of mutual concern. It is a major country. We are a major country as well. And so when you have that, you are forced to have conversations with other governments. And sanctions is a way that we can try to encourage better behavior on the part of government. Now, I'm speaking in a broad-based sense, but that's one way that we can encourage better behavior.
Could I ask a follow-up on that?
Sure. What is your name?
My name's Emily. I'm from BuzzFeed News. Emily.
So, you know, if these sanctions are in part meant to encourage better behavior with Russia, Russia today came out and said that these sanctions, sort of as was expected, that these sanctions are not in keeping with the spirit of Helsinki. So, and I understand these sanctions were in keeping with the law, et cetera, but does this, or to put it a different way, is the cooperation that was sort of established at Helsinki, is the U.S. government still planning on having that with Russia after yesterday's sanctions?
We tend to believe that dialogue is always an important issue. I think I just addressed this with Gardner, and that is trying to build a better relationship with countries that we need to cooperate with, or we need to be able to have relations with, and that would be one example.
And then just on the other point, on the second point, and I don't mean to